Hi everyone, Olivia here. Welcome back to another episode of A Simple Fix. I am very excited today because I have some updates. I officially have video on my podcast. Now, this was something that I was anticipating maybe doing years down the road, but I am tired of waiting for everything to be absolutely perfect for me to execute in my life. So I decided to grab my iPhone, grab my mic, get a nice little setup in my office, and just start. And that is a little encouragement to you. If you are waiting until you have a good camera, or waiting until you have an amazing microphone, or waiting until you have better lighting in your house, whatever it may be that is preventing you from doing what it is that you so deeply want to do, just do it. Just do it. So I'm super happy to be here and to be able to be sharing this podcast on another medium on YouTube. So if you like watching podcasts, definitely subscribe. You can find it in the show notes. You also can just look up Olivia Yoga Bonus and it'll pop up. In celebration of newness, I wanted to create a new little segment that I will be sharing every podcast. Growing up, my mom would have us go around the table and do our highs and our lows, or our wins and losses. And I think that it is such an important aspect of growth to recognize and celebrate when we are succeeding and when we are achieving, and to acknowledge without judgment when we are falling short. So a nice little loss for me is I missed a week of podcasting. I ended up getting COVID. I went to Las Vegas for my brother's wedding. It was amazing. We had the best time ever, but unfortunately, I ended up with COVID. And so I lost my voice, wasn't able to really get anything done for about a week. And that was a bummer, but I'm not going to be too hard on myself. And instead of, giving myself a hard time for not completing something, I'm just going to be proactive. And now I'm going to be a couple weeks ahead in my podcast episode so that I don't run into this issue in the future. And my high, I would say, is this very thing. Doing my podcast and implementing something that is out of my comfort zone, doing something that is so not normal. I'm not usually someone who, I've never posted a YouTube video in my life, although I always wanted to be one of those YouTube vloggers. So I think that, I'm really proud of myself, and this is my high and my win for the week, that I'm doing something that otherwise would have taken me a long time to implement into my life. So I'm so happy, and feel free to DM me your wins and losses. It's my favorite thing. Thank you, Mom, for instilling that in your children. Jumping into today's podcast episode, it is a crash course on how to unfunk your life. Now, I've been in a funk for the past couple of months, and I think that there have been many factors, but I think the last straw was ending my relationship a couple weeks ago, and that was the straw that broke the camel's back. And especially getting COVID after that, just it all kind of came to a head, and I had to do some soul searching. And I recognized that there was so much that was kind of going awry in my life. I knew that I needed to make a bit of a change and to get a little refresh. And I think funks can last a week. They can last a month. They can last a year if you let it. And I didn't want it to go any further than it already has. So I wanted to share with you some practices and things that I have been doing to get out of this funk. First things first, I want to kind of define what I consider to be a funk. I think that a funk is a place in life where you feel worn out, you're bored, you feel stagnant, life is just kind of bleh, and you're going through the motions every day. Nothing's really changing. Nothing's really exciting. It's not bad, but it's definitely not good kind of vibes. And I think especially with COVID and people who started working from home, it's just days started meshing together and you can't even remember what you ate for dinner the night before. I think another thing that we have to acknowledge is that nothing is wrong with you. Absolutely nothing is wrong that you feel this way, that you feel like you're in this funk and that you can't get out of it. I think it's a completely normal human experience to be in different stages of a funk. And I think that once we can get good at embracing it and learning how to not beat ourselves up for the fact that we're feeling these ways, that's really the first step in being able to resolve all of this. I think the next step is identifying the source of the funk. Just like when you open the refrigerator and something stinks and you're like, okay, what leftover is this? What Tupperware needs to get the heck out? And being able to recognize the source of the funk is going to be the most beneficial thing. You can try to find a way to cover it up, but it is only going to get stronger and it's just going to kind of stay there. So I would ask myself the question, is there an aspect or a circumstance in my life that is draining me of my energy, of my peace, of my security, of my happiness? Fill in the blank. And that is kind of where you'd be able to find the source and find the root of it and begin to kind of dig it out a little bit. You can always go back to last episode 5, I believe, and it is talking all about my handy dandy tool, the circle of life, and it kind of goes through all of the aspects of life and really coaching yourself on identifying the issues and in finding solutions. And some of those aspects are, your finances, your career, your relationships, your home life. Nothing is unsolvable. Once you identify what is draining me of all of my energy, what is causing me to be in this funk, to be in this slump, now is the time to be able to climb your way out of that hole. One of the first things that I do that has been extremely helpful in getting out of a funk is crushing my cortisol levels. Cortisol is a steroid hormone that regulates so many processes in your body. It helps to maintain your blood pressure, your immune response, your metabolism, your anti-inflammatory processes, every important thing in your body. And when your cortisol is out of whack, it causes a range of issues from anxiety to diabetes, okay? And so learning how to manage your stress, manage your blood sugar levels, manage your inflammatory response in your body is going to work wonders for you. Some simple ways that I love to lower my cortisol levels: eating a high protein breakfast. What happens is when you skip breakfast, you are giving yourself a cortisol spike because your body is trying to regulate your blood sugar. When you drink coffee first thing in the morning, or caffeine in general first thing in the morning without food, you're giving yourself a cortisol spike again. Eating a high protein breakfast 1 to 2 hours after you wake up is a surefire way to regulate your blood sugar and regulate your cortisol output. Another thing, I love breath work. I love whether it is Joe Dispenza or any random YouTube video. I love somatic breath work. I love the 4-7-8 method, the box method. There are so many different ways of being able to incorporate breath work into your life. And it has helped so much with my anxiety and my stress, being able to calm myself down, breath is seriously like a natural drug. I've been to a couple different breathwork classes, and the response that you get is borderline psychedelic. It's incredible. And it taps into those really deep areas that you have been avoiding in life. So I love doing breath work to really get to the bottom of my stress, the bottom of my concerns, and to also alleviate my stress and anxiety. Another thing that I incorporate into my defunking is what I call my bounce back list. Now, I created this bounce back list mostly over a breakup, but I feel like it is perfect for anyone and everyone. I had posted it on my TikTok, and a mom had responded, and she was saying, I feel like I've been losing myself and I've been in such a funk. I'm going to be doing this to be able to have a little bit of autonomy again. And so this is really perfect for any aspect in any situation or circumstance that you might be facing. And there are 5 things that you can implement from this bounce back list. Number 1 is an old hobby. Going back and looking, oh my gosh, I have been putting this on the back burner. I have not been taking time and energy into something that I once loved to do. One of my things is I love thrifting. Thrifting is like a sport to me, and I haven't been doing it. That is my hobby that I'm going to be taking time to be more intentional with and plan out days that I can go do something that I enjoy deeply. Number 2 is something for your body. I think self-care, which we can tap into a little bit more later, is such a gift. If it's something for your body, you want to start exercising more. You start walking 3 days a week, or your goal is to have 10,000 steps 5 days a week. Whatever it may be, create a goal that is attainable and that is sustainable, and go for it. My goal here is, now that I am cooking for myself way more, I'm going back to my cycle syncing method of eating. And I'm going to focus on foods that are good for me in every phase of my cycle, and really implementing that on a daily basis now that I have the freedom and the ability to do so without it impacting really anyone else. Number 3 is a skill that you have been wanting to learn. I am staring at my sewing machine that is on the floor in my office that I thrifted. It's a Brother XL 5130. And I got it for like $5 at the thrift store. And I just need to buy a power cord off of Amazon. And it's been seriously almost 6 months. And I keep staring at it. I keep tripping over it. And it's something that I want to learn how to do. The reason I want to do it is because I so badly want to look at something at the thrift store, and like maybe it's a little too big, or maybe it's something that I would want to crop, or that I'd want to turn into a sleeveless dress, but I don't have the skill to be able to do it. And I always bring it to a tailor, and that is not helpful when you're thrifting, and then all of a sudden you're spending like $30 on each item that you thrifted to get to work for you. So that is something that I am wanting to learn. I also am going to be taking a French class. I am signing up for a class at my local community college. That is just how I learn. I cannot really do like Babbel or any of those apps because I need somebody to hold me accountable. So I'm very excited to be able to have that time and that energy to put towards something else. And then number 4 is something that will make you money. I think that I kind of was on like a bit of a hiatus this last year, really investing my time and my energy into my relationship and not necessarily into my business. And I wear many hats. I have multiple streams of income when it comes to Olivia Yoko Creative LLC. And now I am able to kind of put more time and energy into the streams that had been really dried up a little bit. And then number 5 is a passion project. And this is my passion project. This is not anything that I am anticipating making money off of. I just want to build a community of people. I want to be able to share my input as a 20-something and be able to support others in being 20-somethings or even 30-somethings, whoever it is that is listening. I have found so much value in the world of podcasting, and especially in the wellness world, but I also see that there's a huge missing piece in the wellness world where we feel like we have to do everything that is trendy, do everything that works for somebody else. And I want to be able to show everyone that wellness is so individualized, and what works for you might not work for someone else. So that is my little bounce back list. I am confident that it is going to be able to help me even more in getting back on track and getting out of my funk. And another thing that we kind of touched on a little bit is self-care. Really setting aside a specific time for you to take care of yourself and to nurture yourself. I have this conversation with my clients all the time about self-connection. It really is one of my favorite things to talk about. I had a client just this last week, and we were talking, and I asked her this question. I said to her, so, you spend like a good amount of time with your friends. You really invest in them. You are there for them when they need you. And I'd asked her how long, she usually spends with herself. And she was like, oh, not that much time. Like sometimes I get like 10 minutes by myself when I'm, in my car, and I just sit in my car. So I asked her, if you only spent 10 minutes every once in a while with a friend, how well do you think you would get to know that friend? How deep would your connection be with them? And she kind of looked at me and she was like, not deep at all. And I'm like, exactly. And then she was like, just the look on her face, she was like, you're talking about me with myself, aren't you? And it is so true. When we don't put the time and the energy and the effort into ourselves in the way that we would a friend or a family member, we're not going to get the same outcome. We're not going to understand our needs, understand our desires, understand what makes us tick, understand what makes us so unique, and build a love and enjoyment of ourselves. So I'm an advocate of learning how to be alone, learning how to enjoy yourself. And one of those really, really easy ways to do that is through self-care, is through taking time, doing dates with yourself, learning how to enjoy your own company before you enjoy anybody else's. And breaking it down to the basics, it would look like once a week, I'm going to date myself. And some of the things that I've done, I go to the movies by myself. I know that that is some people's like version of hell on earth. Definitely don't recommend it if you don't want to do it. But sometimes it's going shopping by myself. Sometimes it's having a movie night in, cooking a really nice dinner for myself, reading a book, starting a book and getting halfway through it, taking a nice bath, doing meditation, going to a yoga class by myself, taking myself on a date to coffee, going on a little staycation. I think that there are so many things from, it being $0, absolutely free, to pampering yourself a little bit. But I try to make an effort at least once a week to be intentional, schedule it in so that, if somebody calls you up and they're like, hey, we want to go hang out. What are you doing? You're like, oh, sorry, I actually have plans. And those plans are with yourself, and that's okay. A quote that I live by, and I'm sorry, I saw it on TikTok. I don't know the source, but it's learning to love being alone protects you from wasting your time on the wrong things. So when you are able to take that time and give yourself the energy and the love and the care that you need, you are building up that security and that confidence to make those right decisions in life. So when it comes to unfunking yourself, don't skip out on the alone time. And the alone time might look different. Maybe that is how you'd been feeling. You've been feeling lonely in your funk. You've been spending a lot of time by yourself, but it hasn't been good time. And I think we can all relate to that and have experienced that in different capacities. But being able to spend intentional time with yourself is going to be a game changer. I am so confident of it. Another one here is acknowledging what good is going on in your life. I think it is really, really easy to only focus on the negative, only focus on the things that have not been going well. And when you ruminate on those kinds of things in your life, of course you're going to be in a funk. If you are constantly complaining, constantly being negative, you're not going to really see a light at the end of the tunnel. And when you can acknowledge that there's always something good going on in your life, always, life starts to look a little bit better. And I know some people are like, no, definitely my life is in shambles. It is absolute crap. There is nothing good going on in my life. I read a book once. Can't tell you what it's called. I'm so sorry. But I read a book and it was about a man who was a prisoner of war. And if he was able to find joy as a prisoner of war, I'm pretty sure you could find one good thing that's going on in your life. Just one. Just one. Once we kind of take ourselves out of that mindset of negativity, things change. This actually made me think of something. I had taken a behavioral research course, and it talked a lot about your roadblocks to healthy thinking and thinking and behavior changes. And it spoke so much about how mind traps are learned ways of reacting to events in life, much like other habits and patterns that we have. And that it is so possible for us to learn new ways of thinking that help us avoid a lot of those emotional issues that we deal with and even getting into these funks in the first place. And so there were, I believe, 4 or 5 different traps, and I found them here in my notes. One was the blame trap. So we get caught when we refuse to take responsibility for our decisions. Another one is the helpless trap. And we think that we are victims of circumstances and that there's nothing that we can do to solve our problems. Another one is the catastrophe trap. And this is the one that I am guilty of 100%. We get caught in this catastrophe trap when we exaggerate even the littlest of things and we turn them into a major crisis. The other one is the guilt trap. We get caught in that when we have thoughts that are unfairly harsh and critical about ourselves, and we think that we are responsible for every external event or mishap that occurs. And the last one is the all or nothing trap. And we get caught in this and overreact to people or circumstances by assuming that they are totally one way or totally the other. So the way that we are able to step out of these mind traps is, one, by recognizing that a lot of our negative and uncomfortable feelings actually come from how we think. The next thing is that we have to recognize and keep track of what we're thinking and how we're feeling, and remember to challenge these negative thoughts when they come up. Something that I do really easy and simple is I find the issue, I find the fact behind the issue, and I find the solution. A quick example here is I'm so lazy. That's the issue. Well, really, the fact behind that issue is I woke up super late because I went to bed super late, and I don't have as much energy because I really had a terrible night's sleep. There is no judgment in that sentence. It's not about me. It's not about my ability or my lack thereof. It is just a simple fact that I don't have as much energy as I usually do. What is the solution? I'm going to go ahead and take a 30-minute nap, and then I'm going to go to bed a little bit earlier tonight so that I have a more productive day tomorrow. I think being able to look at ourselves with non-judgment makes a world of difference in the long run. And it helps take us out of those mind traps that we so easily get caught up in. I know I went on a tangent there in regards to acknowledging what is good in your life, but sometimes we have to get past the negative thought patterns in order for us to see that there is good going on in our lives. And I'd be happy to even do a whole other episode about mind traps and that behavioral research, because it is just incredible. I love the psychology behind all of that, and really seeing that like positivity is not as woo-woo as you think it is. The last thing that I recommend when it comes to getting out of a funk is going back to your friends and your family. In this last 2 weeks, I have had hours and hours and hours worth of conversations with my friends and my family members, especially my family members. I talked to my mom and my sister on a joint call because we all had COVID for like 4 hours. And it was the thing that I needed in that moment. And although we were all kind of like in the funk together, it made me feel less alone. It made me feel like I was not in this by myself. And being able to see that there are people who will support you and who will rally for you in any moment is so, so important. And I know that there are a lot of people who have difficult relationships with their family members, and I'm really sorry for that. And I know that there are people who don't have the best of friends. But I think that there is always one person in your life that is a gem that would be there and ride or die for you. And if you can't think of a single person, I'll be that person. You can DM me and I will ride for you. But really, I think everybody is deserving of that kind of support and that kind of community. And if you don't have it, I actually started a Geneva chat so that people are able to connect with one another in the midst of their struggles and not feel so alone. But really, start with your inner circle, identify your inner circle, and reach out to them. Fill them in on what is going on in your life. Oftentimes, they have exactly what you need, which might be a hug, might be some advice, might just be a listening ear. But if you don't ask, you're never going to know. So this is my extended version of what I do to get out of a funk. I feel so excited about life. I feel so ready to take on these new challenges that I've set before me. And I know that I have the support and the love from my friends and my family. I know that I have the confidence in myself to be able to do it. And it's not always easy to get out of these funks. You don't have to do all of these things to get out of a funk. Sometimes it's just getting up and making your bed. Sometimes it's just holding yourself accountable to one thing every day. I think everyone is going at their own pace and doing what they need to do. And even if you just do one thing today to get yourself a little bit closer to being out of this funk and a little bit closer to your goals and feeling like a normal human again, I'm so proud of you. One step is more than no steps. I'm a mathematician, if you didn't know. I hope that this episode was helpful to you. I hope that it has given you some insight and inspiration and encouraged you in taking the next step. And if you need a little extra support, you know where to find me. I have absolutely loved being able to share this first new episode with you guys with video. Let me know if you watch it and you see all of my funny facial expressions. And I hope you all have an amazing week. And I will see you next Monday. Do I wave? Should I wave? Bye.